Good morning, it's Bryan over at Cross Country Mortgage. Hope you're having a great start to your week. Hey, we get a lot of phone calls and we have lots of questions from, people looking for a mortgage, looking to buy a house or finance a home in any way, shape, or form. And it seems like we start answering the same questions over and over again. So what I thought we would do is we would shoot a video that answers the 4 most common questions that we get, in the process, early in the process for most people looking to finance a new home. So number 1 is, hey, are you a local lender or not? And if you are, why would I want to use you? A lot of times, most people who haven't bought a home before, they will literally walk into their bank and they'll see a sign that says, hey, it's low interest rates today, apply for a mortgage, and they apply for a loan with Chase or Bank of America or PNC or whoever it might be. And they don't really understand the difference between using a local lender or a national lender like that. Basically, there's a couple things that are super important as to why you would use a local lender. Number 1, if you're buying a home, your offer is going to be more than likely in our current market in a multiple offer situation. And even if you're not in a multiple offer situation, this is super important because the seller has to feel comfortable with your offer and your ability to close. 90% of America has to buy a home with a mortgage, so the variable that's unknown for the listing agent and the seller is typically, hey, what is really happening with your mortgage? So, I have a lot of relationships with local real estate agents. So a lot of the listing agents that you will submit an offer to understand how I work, and they know that we always can close the loan. That when you get the pre-approval letter from us, it's a legitimate pre-approval with all documentation being reviewed and received and reviewed prior to us issuing that letter. So, the other aspect of having a local lender work with you instead of your, local bank branch or credit union is that we understand how the real estate tax world works and how Illinois real estate or Wisconsin real estate works. So when you're making an offer, you have to understand 3 numbers. You have to understand how much money do you have to show in your bank account to be approved for that home, and number 2, how much money out of that do you have to actually write a check for to buy that home, and what's the actual payment? Well, we're going to confirm all that information with you prior to you making the offer so that you are dealing with accurate information. I can tell you we've had multiple people that we've been referred to throughout the 20 years that I've been doing this who started with a local credit union or a local national lender branch office, and they did not understand that they needed $20,000 to close on the home. They thought that they would only need $5,000 or $10,000, and yes, there's some drastic differences because the loan officer that they choose to work with or the branch that they choose to work with does not understand how taxes work in our market and how we can affect the real estate contract and the outcome with how much money you have to spend prior to you making the offer. So we really want to help you understand how to affect the outcome and get your goal accomplished before you even submit the offer to the seller. Second most important question is, how do you prepare for interest rates and costs? I don't know how much money that I'll need to buy a house. If I want to put 5% down on a $200,000 house, how come I need more than $10,000? Well, first and foremost, there's always going to be somebody cheaper. We're not the most expensive and we're not the cheapest lender in the world, but what I can tell you is we're accurate and we perform. Unfortunately, a lot of times what ends up happening is lenders quote interest rates, and if you haven't gone through the process before, you don't understand what all the other costs are involved to purchase a home. And quite honestly, there's a lot of fees involved, whether that be the lender costs, the title fees, the attorney fee, the homeowner's insurance, your escrow account, and anything else that you negotiate with the real estate contract affects that cash to close. So what I want you to understand is we will always perform. So when I issue that pre-approval letter for you and your family, you will absolutely be able to close, so long as no other variable that you've already shared with us changes. If you lose your job, I can't control that. Or if your income goes down, or you choose to leave one position that pays you a W-2 salary and you go to be self-employed, I can't control that. I wouldn't recommend doing that in the process, but what I want you to understand is interest rate and costs are going to be across the board the same for any client that we work with. As far as costs are concerned, our costs are fixed. They're going to be the same cost for any borrower that we work with. Number 3, the third most common question. Hey, are you a mortgage broker or are you a mortgage banker? And I don't think that most people really understand what the differences are. First and foremost, a mortgage broker has absolutely no control over the process whatsoever. So for the last Oh, let's see here. The last 12 years in my career in the mortgage industry, I've been a mortgage banker. Why? Because mortgage banking gives us the control that we need throughout the process. We can control how your loan application is put together. We can control how it's underwritten. We can control when the closing occurs and where it occurs. And we can control the funding of that loan. That means that in the mortgage banking world, we have 100% responsibility for the creation of the loan, and we're going to fund that loan with our own money. If we were a mortgage broker, and we could do both, but 99.9% of the time it does not make sense to do a loan as a mortgage broker because we do not have control over underwriting. We cannot close the loan in our own name, which means then that we can't fund the loan with our own money. So if we were to broker your loan to Chase, as an example, Chase is going to underwrite it, Chase is going to close it, and Chase is going to fund it. I'm just in the middle and I have no control. I'm just going to be a messenger to you to help you understand where your file is at in Chase's process, not in our process. So what I want you to understand is I'm super kind of a control freak, and the banking process allows us to maintain control over your file so we have a predictable outcome. And then the fourth most common question, hey, how fast can you close? In the market that we're in right now, it's extremely limited inventory. We don't expect that to change anytime soon. And that means that when you're making an offer, you want to put your best offer forward first. If you do all of the work that we ask you to do up front in the pre-approval process and supply us with all the documentation, your bank statements, your pay stubs, your tax returns, your identification, social security card if we need that, all that kind of stuff, all of that documentation is submitted to my team up front, and I issue a pre-approval letter, so long as on a purchase, the attorneys, the title company, and the homeowners insurance and the homeowners association parties to the process get their documentation to us in a timely manner, we can close on average somewhere around 21 to 25 business days, or calendar days, I'm sorry. If any of those parties takes longer to supply the documentation to us, like the seller's attorney may not provide us with the title commitment until later in the process, maybe because you're negotiating something with the home inspection, or maybe you are just dealing with a seller's attorney that doesn't do real estate closings very often and they don't really understand the process. Well, our job is to get that documentation as soon as we possibly can so we can keep the dates in line on your contract. So how quickly we close is a function of how quickly everybody gets the documentation to us, and we will do everything we can to get your file closed as soon as possible. And one thing I want you to understand, the fastest we've closed a deal in the last 12 months has literally been in 9 calendar days. And others have taken longer because the parties to the process don't communicate or don't respond in a timely manner to get the documentation to us. So if you have questions about any of this, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're experts. We know how to get your mortgage approved and how to get it closed in a timely manner and make sure that you get the home that you are looking to buy. If you have questions about this at all, don't hesitate to reach out. The direct number in the office is 847-603-4778.